Hey, this is Cindy and Michael from Part-Time Permies, and you're watching our live show after the show, including the cat. No, until we get some people joining us here. But we'll wait for people to join in here. Give them a minute and set up the computer at the same time so we can see the live chat. We'll be going over, got 3 videos actually up this week. Hello, Helix. And one was just a little announcement this morning on a collaboration, which we'll be discussing. Hi, Lois Ann. Sorry, cattail in the way. And not the edible kind. Sit down, Helix. Okay, so I'm just setting up my chat so we can see it a little bit better. But I'm waiting for a couple people to join in the room. Looks like we have a couple people. You're the first one chatting though, Lois Ann, so how are you doing? We'll go over our discussed collaboration here in a little bit. I think you were in the room with the Pratt live show. Don't remember, where we were discussing kind of a Michigan collaboration. But I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute once we get a few more people in here. And I think we have one person watching in the background and one chatting in the chat room. So, oh, that's not what I wanted to do on here. Okay. You hit your 1,000 subs today. Cool, congratulations. Awesome, I'm still working on it. Hi Coco, welcome, and awesome. Lois Ann, I don't know Coco if you saw that, but Lois Ann Therapy Gardening has met the minimum subs. Awesome. 1,000 subs. We still need about 270 or so, give or take, to go. So, oh, thanks. I actually have my hair down. You gonna say hi at all?
Yeah.
I usually have my hair up when I'm at home. But yeah, so we'll get a couple more people in the room hopefully here as we go. It looks like we have maybe 5 people in here. She said hi to you.
Oh. Hi, Coco.
So we have, what do we have today? We had 3 videos go up this week if you count this morning's kind of announcement video. We have our herb of the week. We have way many projects going on. Hi Valerie, how are you? So you made it in. So she commented that she was coming. So you guys are not actually watching the Super Bowl. We're ignoring it here at the moment. Haven't watched a single minute of it. Finite World, hello. Good evening. Thanks for joining us and ignoring the television to everybody. So I just wanted to go over, I guess, a couple things here first. Unless you want to start with Herb of the Week here first while you're up here. Mike has to work on projects. So you're going to be here for maybe half the time?
Yeah, something like that. Running behind on projects. So.
Yeah. Wolf Creek Hum said hello, hello. Welcome. So, yeah, we could start with that. I did get a couple videos up. We finally got your Salsa Verde video up. That was the first one that went up this week. And then lost our 3rd tablet limited chat on my phone. Oh, yeah. It's hard. That's not good to lose a tablet, but it is hard to chat on this phone. I've tried watching live shows by phone before. It's slightly difficult, but okay. Excuse me. So we got that up. I did get a January update on the garden, so we did get that up, which was actually pretty amazing how things are still going out under the hoop. So if you haven't seen that, check it out, because we do have things that are growing. You harvested some mustard greens a few weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
from under the hoops. So things are still, I wouldn't say thriving, but definitely growing.
We
Tablets
got about
fried.
3 inches of snow today, and we might get 4 or 5 tomorrow night. They're saying maybe.
Yeah, so we're back into snow again.
First real snow in almost a month.
Yeah, we've had some dustings,
Yeah.
but and 10 miles west of here had a ton of snow not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, but we didn't get hit.
Haven't got much of it.
Yeah, and Helix is back. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up, since we have a few of the Michigan groups in here right now, is that we are starting a collaboration. Any of you guys who were in the Pratt chat on Thursday night may have saw the discussion on the random facts about Michigan. So we're going to do a collaboration. I set up the instructions on the video this morning that that's going to be 5 random facts about Michigan. It could be anything from agricultural facts to, local facts, hometown stuff, why you live here, historical, geographic, whatever you want on that. So if you guys want to join in on that, feel free to put a video together on that. I think it would be fun to kind of see what we all come up with. And if you link it to what Finite World just posted the video from this morning, but if you link it in the description on that video, I will put it in the playlist. And that way we can put all the reasons why Michigan is awesome, basically, right? Because Michiganians tend to be proud of our state a little bit. Reason why we ended up moving back home. So check that out and have some snowy pictures in that from this morning as well. But and I was thinking actually, I do have a Facebook page and group, and I'm trying to remember which one is the good one for discussion because it's still small. But I think it's the page. No, I forget. Whichever one. I'm gonna put some links to some places to get information on Michigan agriculture if you're interested in looking up some random facts. We'll probably focus a little bit on the Kalamazoo area, so we'll do the celery talk a little bit. And maybe some of the beach things. You're shaking the table. So I haven't decided what our 5 random facts are going to be yet, but we'll put our video together probably in the next week and see where that goes. So if you guys are interested in that, just let me know so I can kind of expect, how many videos we might have coming. Be on the lookout for them. That would be great. But so we have that coming. Trying to see if I missed anyone coming in. You guys are quiet. Are you guys watching TV at the same time?
You got Wolf Creek Homestead.
Yeah.
Got in a little while ago.
The Barnyard Chicken. Hello, hello. What kind of grapevine? Well, I kind of left it loose. The picture, if you actually go to the webpage in the description below, it'll list the herb of the week as just being grapevine. The ones we have primarily around here is riverbank grapevine as a wild one, but there are a whole lot of different varieties all across the U.S., all around the world.
We have commercial grapes,
mainly
vineyards,
Concord.
yeah, that are within a mile of here. Some of them are wine grapes. A lot of them are juice grapes.
Yeah, I mean we have Welch's nearby. Oh, production.
So we can get stray. We could potentially have stray juice and wine grapes showing up anywhere in the area also.
Yeah, but the majority, the ones on our property I think are wild riverbank grapevines. So, and a lot of the imported grapevines from Europe are actually using the rootstock for the wild ones here to keep them healthy.
Almost all of them.
Yeah. So most of those are set up that way. Did I miss something? Okay. So, yeah. So if you go to the link below, we could go over that. I have a picture of a grape leaf from a riverbank grapevine, which is in our backyard a ways. So just made another batch of soup with stuffed grape leaves. Yum. Yeah, of course. If you're talking about culinary uses, there are a ton of culinary uses for a variety of grapes. Obviously, wine, brandy, vinegar, grape molasses, common things, jelly, of course. But you can, there's people in France, I believe they fortify cheeses with.
Sometimes they wash.
Yeah.
You wash the outside. Italy also, so it's a preservation and it's also somewhat of a flavoring.
Yep. And then you can
Spain.
In Spain, yeah. And you can make sour grape candy out of it. There's one book I have that talked about taking the riverbank grapevine grapes and making juice out of it, and then taking that juice and putting it on wax paper and letting it dry out, and then rolling it up into little candies, which tend to be very sour because riverbank grapes are quite sour. And I think most of the wild little ones are pretty sour and a little bit seedy too. So yeah, of course you can eat the fruit, although the small wild ones tend to be sour and seedy. You can make grapeseed oil if you really. I've never tried that.
Grapeseed oil? Making or
making
eating
it?
No.
Eating it, I've tried.
Yeah, you press it more or less like olive oil, but you need a lot of grape seeds. If you're not doing commercial juicing, you're not going to be making grapeseed oil.
And then it's usually a byproduct of the juicing.
Yeah.
And then you can, I didn't know this, you can eat the little new tendrils in the spring. You can eat those, and they are quite sour as well.
Bobby was feeding me tendrils and grape leaves all season, even when they weren't young. And they were a little bitter, but...
A little bitter as they get
she
older.
Would hand them to me, here, chew on this.
Of course, grape leaves you want to use when they're on the younger side, too, because they get bitter. They get a lot of tannins as they get older. But yeah, a lot of culinary uses. Other uses, you can actually peel and kind of split the vines to weave things or make ropes and that sort of thing. Grapeseed oil has been used to make paint and for oil lamps to burn. So for light. And hello, Wolf Creek. Did I say hi to you before? I'm not sure. I think I missed it.
Mention it.
Oh, I did. Okay, sorry. And then as far as medicines go, the grape leaves have been used as an infusion for controlling menstrual cycles, and also as a mouthwash type thing and as a laxative. So it's got a few traditional uses there. The sap has been used as an eye wash, which I found interesting. I hadn't heard about that. People use grapes, like eating straight grapes or grape juice, as kind of a detox if they do that for like a day. So like a fasting type thing with straight grape juice only, and creating essences here. Hello. The leaves can be used as a poultice to bind or to put on wounds and things. So, and I did find some studies that were actually talking about the antimicrobial effect of some of the compounds in the grape leaves. So there is some, mainly antibacterial. In fact, one of the studies I was looking at was they were talking about using stem extract to wash vegetables in to prevent contamination of like greens vegetables and getting bacteria off, because sometimes that's a problem with contamination in travel. So that was one thing they were looking into, which I thought was kind of interesting. So they definitely do have some antimicrobial effect. There are some warnings about it, because if you're looking at berries that look like grapes, both Virginia creeper, the berry on it looks kind of like a grape, although it has a really bright red stem. So if you watch that, but the problem is it likes to grow mixed in with grapes, so you got to watch what you're picking. The leaves are very different on that one. There's also something I hadn't heard of before, Canada moonseed, which I don't know that plant at all, but I did look it up, and the leaves are a little different. They have kind of a similar shape, but they're smooth. They don't have the toothed leaves like grapes do, and they do have a berry that looks similar to grapes, but from what I read, it only has one seed, whereas grapes have multiple seeds. But Canada moonseed is poisonous, so you don't want to eat that. So you do have to watch to make sure you know your plants. Good source of vitamin K. Yeah, well, there's a lot of good vitamins in grapes.
There was quite a, I don't know, did you come across anything on the resveratrol?
I have not.
So resveratrol got really big about 15 years ago as being possibly a compound. It's sort of the essence of life compound. And you can still buy it. You can buy it purified, but they said that may be the ingredient that people saying drinking wine helps increase metabolism, reduce fat, good for cardiac, good for a whole variety of things. And so they isolated something called resveratrol. However, there was some talk that the research, and it was published, it was peer reviewed, published, may have been faked.
Well,
so
I didn't see that, but I didn't go back 15 years. I was looking in the last couple
you
years
can
on the
still
research.
buy it as a supplement. I'm sure it's not really bad for you, but whether it is what it, they're having problems replicating, and I think they said it may have been fake.
Well, I did see that there are studies, pretty early studies that was talking about that anthocyanins.
That's important.
Anthocyanins in grapes definitely they have seen on a cellular level. No, they haven't done.
So anthocyanins are your dark purpley
color.
Pigments.
Yeah.
And they're antioxidant.
And there's actually a lot of them in the leaves as well as in the grapes themselves. But they actually have an anti-obesity effect. They prevent new adipocytes from growing. So those are fat cells, by the way. So they do have some, it's basically in a petri dish study right now, not human studies, not even animal studies yet. But what the studies I saw were saying it did inhibit the growth of adipocytes. It also inhibited the lipid and cholesterol levels. So as far as cardiovascular claims, there are still some claims along those lines. In fact, actually, one of the things we talk about in cancer, when I'm talking to patients about modifying breast cancer risk, we talk about reducing alcohol intake, but not eliminating alcohol intake in general, because there are some cardiovascular effects to reduce cardiovascular disease in some alcohol. Now, of course, it doesn't help diabetes and things, but that's a whole nother.
The updated standards that just came out by the American Cancer Society, their newest standards say that alcohol has no positive effect on cancer. It may and possibly does have a negative effect, especially higher levels. So their recommendation is maintain limited to no use relating to cancer. They're not speaking on behalf of cardiac.
Other things. No, they
in cardiac.
They basically say limit for breast cancer use, limit it, because they do know that average of one serving of alcohol a day increases the risk for breast cancer by 10%. So it has an adverse effect there, but they don't say eliminate, they say limit on that recommendation. So just to throw it out there. So, I mean, that's basically what I found. I could dig deeper into some of the studies, because there are a ton of studies. Well, there's a lot of money in grapes, right?
It's probably the largest cash crop fruit-wise around the world.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest dollar crops in the world. So, yeah, there's a lot of research. Coco was saying, so much for peer review. Well, the good thing is peer review and repeating
studies.
it and looking at the studies catches most blatant, faked stuff. So peer review is definitely good.
It doesn't catch it right away. It catches it after they've repeated it.
Because people go back and start looking and try and work new material off of currently peer-reviewed stuff.
Right.
And they look and they go, well, this isn't working. So then they go back and they repeat the original thing to figure out what they're doing wrong, assuming it's wrong. And then after a number of trials, they go, wait a minute, the original material was wrong. And that happens not frequently, but it definitely happens. It's better than a non-peer-reviewed journal where people just kind of write whatever they want and it sits there and people may or may not use it.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, so Stringfield Ridge Farm. Hello, I think I missed your coming in here. I almost said walking in. You walked in the room. Well, maybe. Planted 2 grapes, or planted grapes 2 years ago, if I can read. Cool. Have not had fruit yet. I do know it takes what is it? 3 to 5 years?
I don't know. It takes a while before to take off. Yeah, we have we have a lot of Concords in our area. We also there's a farm right down the road, like less than a mile, small farm. They do Delaware grapes, which are also a juicy grape. And I like to buy. We buy them roadside for a month or so when they're available, big bags. And they have 1 or 2 seeds in them, but they're really juicy, fruity. And then they have a somewhat of a medium thick skin, but not too tannic. Where the skin tastes like a sweet tart, and it just explodes. And the fruit is sweet. So they're actually a really fun to eat grape. And I just eat the seeds. I don't worry about them.
Yeah, no, I don't worry about. I mean,
it's some grapes have so many seeds. A lot of the wine grapes, really thick skins and quite a bit of seeds, and they're kind of unpalatable both in flavor and in texture. So that's why you juice them. But yeah, we have so many. We did there was a lot of organic grape growing in this area for quite a while. It sort of ended in the last 10 years. Organic grapes have pretty much the price has dropped so much that people can't afford to grow them anymore, and they were for eating, especially, and then somewhat for juice. Most of the organic grapes have gone out of country because there's a lot of labor on picking them and other things. So there's actually a lot of grapes fields available right now. They're getting built up into houses or for sale because you can't make them pay for themselves too easily. Now the commercial ones that they're spraying, there's a little more of that, and then of course we have smaller wineries. We have the largest winery in Michigan is
St. Julian,
5 miles from here.
Yeah,
and they source from a lot of places, including their own grapes.
So we are definitely
we're in lower Michigan wine country.
Yeah, I mean you get the stuff up by Traverse as well, but as far as we have a whole lot.
Southwest end is a pretty heavy
and wine.
grape area.
Yeah. There's a lot of nice sandy soil for it. So, and the thing that gets me about Michigan wine grapes is that why aren't we doing the German style grapes? It just seems like it would make some
German and northern France, and we're doing a lot of that, but we're pushing the
There's
envelope.
so many mixtures. Like every winery seems to want to make every type of wine. That it doesn't seem to make sense.
Which is the American model or the early experimentation. The European model is you grow what you know grows in that area, actually to a point where some areas you're told that if you want it certified or, under the different labeling laws,
well, it's named after the region.
You have to grow certain things.
Yeah.
But yeah, if wineries would figure out what grows well in their region and on their soil and really focus on making it good, I think they would do even better.
Hi, Discovery. For some reason, you're not listed as a moderator anymore. Should I make you a moderator again? Anyway. So, yeah, there are definitely a lot of grapes and, wine. And we have some fruit canning facilities down the road,
We have quite a few fruit canning because we have a lot of other things other than grapes. So we have canning and packing and processing, juicing, freezing, of fruit, so tree fruits, and then the juices are a variety of things, and a little bit of other produce handling. Of course, there's lots of corn and soybeans, but we're unique in that our particular area has a lot of edible fruit farming. Yeah.
So anyway, any other questions or things I should look up about grapes that you want me to touch on that? This is, I mean, very broad. I list a number of species. There's so many other species. But I just made him a moderator, so it should be good. I don't know why he wasn't, because he was before. But I don't know what happened to that. But anyway, so we got that going. I'm going to throw out a question. Looked like he lost his wrench, yes. Lost the wrench along with the tablet, you guys? Come on now. Pull off his out. Oh, okay. That might be why. So, actually, how many people in the room right now are in Michigan or have lived in Michigan? I'll add that to the list. For you guys, or where are you guys from if you're not? Because I know a number of people in here are from Michigan. I was just trying to get an idea. Wolf Creek's in Michigan, awesome. Discovery, you're now a moderator again, so no frowning. It's a conspiracy. Oh my gosh. No, I don't know about it. I think Google has its technical issues. So I know Coco and Discovery are in Michigan. Wolf Creek's in Michigan. Okay,
Kentucky.
Stringfield Ridge Farms, Western Kentucky. Awesome. My grandparents used to live outside Lexington, Kentucky, so we'd go down there all the time. Valerie's from southeast Michigan. That's where we're from originally. Cool. So, for any of you guys who are from Michigan, who do videos or are interested in doing videos, of course, Finite World's from Michigan too. Yeah, I can't forget that. We do have, I'm going to go back to this, we do have a collaboration that's going to go on 5 random facts about Michigan. So if you're interested in that, please check out the video from this morning. There's instructions in that video on what we're looking at. So I just wanted to pull that up because I know there's more people in the room now than when I brought it up earlier. Anybody interested in that, let me know. Lois Ann, you're from Michigan too, right? I'll say further up on the west side. I can't remember. So, okay. And Wolf Creek used to live in Lexington. Yeah, my grandparents lived in Wilmore, Kentucky, just a little bit southwest of Lexington, I want to say.
It's a nice area.
Yeah, horse country there. I love horses. Midwest Michigan. Yeah, I thought you were just a little north of us, Lois Ann. So, so yeah, if you guys are interested in that collaboration or let people know about it, that would be great. The more the merrier, and for that matter, it could help us share viewers. I think collaborations are awesome that way to help build channels. And, you know, there's been this Missouri thing going on. We need a Michigan one, right? So, okay. But anyway, we've gone through all that stuff fast. I still have one more video to go out because last weekend I had a broody hen and I put together a video on that, but that'll probably come out as the next video. Actually, I'll go back because I had some questions on the gardening one. I don't know if you need to work at all or not.
Pretty soon.
If you're good. But I went out and it was really over 2 weeks. I did the video on our hoop bed and what's doing well and what's not. If anyone's interested in that information or have questions on that, there were some, exclamations and surprise that we still have things growing under our snow in Michigan. But the things that seem to be doing the best, the mustard greens did great. We actually harvested them so they don't look like they're doing well right now, but they're sending out new growth. You can see that in the video a little bit. And the spinach is doing great. We didn't have any kale because I ran out of kale last season, so we didn't get that in there. And of course, that's a cold hardy one. But the pak choi is doing pretty well too. Mm-hmm. It's sending up new growth. So yeah, I mean, harvesting through the winter, it's definitely an idea we borrowed from Elliot Coleman's book. So that book, Growing Anytime. Well, the thing is, yes, some of it is actually sending out new shoots very slowly, but most of the growth occurred before the cold. It's more about holding it through the winter and trying to get it to full size before it gets really cold so that you can harvest it through the winter.
Yeah, so you're doing 3 things. You can either extend your seasons or get go much later or get going much earlier.
Yeah.
You can hold things that have limited growth, but you're basically holding them alive so they're at full nutrients instead of having to cellar them or wait for them to rot. They're just kind of holding for when you want to pick them. And then some things will grow nearly through the year. Radishes will just go nuts as soon as you get a little bit of heat. And yeah. I was reading something not too long ago saying that 50% of root growth takes place during the winter. So when we think our plants are doing nothing and resting, they're actually strengthening and focusing on their roots when it warms up a little bit, which means if you're doing that with vegetables, they're ready to take off. If it's old vegetables that you're rejuvenating or growing larger or just waiting for more shoots, or if things sort of like the winter wheat, which greened up a little bit last week when we hit the 50s, it has little bits of spurts of growth so that the farmers get, we don't grow winter wheat, but the farmers get their winter wheat, all of a sudden it takes off as soon as you get the first warm spell because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And it has rooting developing, and it's got nutrients available. It's got gets a little heat. It's got the nice moisture, and all of a sudden it takes off. So
really, you need it to germinate before it gets too cold.
So your greens, your radishes, the hardy greens, the radishes, a few other things. We held Brussels sprouts one year, almost through the end of the year. Cabbages, of course. Most of your root vegetables, if they seem too small that you don't want to harvest them, or they're just, they can get too big and hard on the outside surfaces, but you can let them regenerate or continue to grow into the next season if you want. If you're concerned you have a short season, carrots just take forever. And you might be able to hold beets or turnips. They tend to get pretty tough on the outside, but they do soften a little when they restart. So there's a variety of things, if they're not frost sensitive, that you can play with your seasonality and get things more often through the year.
So as far as greens, I mean, you got your root vegetables. Your radishes are very cold hardy. Your carrots will overwinter and start growing again in the spring. In fact, they tend to be extremely sweet because all the sugars went down into the roots.
Yep, all of them, the parsnips, the beets, everything.
Yeah, all those. And then as far as greens go, I was trying the romaines and the Bib lettuce, not really expecting them to go too far into the winter because they're not as cold hardy as some of the other greens. But if you look at the video, there's some new growth on those. A lot of the bigger leaves did not like the cold and they wilted a bit. Yeah. But there's new growth growing, so as soon as you hit a warm spell, they're still alive.
So even if you frost out the edges because they get too cold, or they frost out and touch the plastic, it doesn't necessarily, unless they get a real hard frost, doesn't necessarily kill the root, so they can regenerate. Spinach loves cold weather. A lot of the greens you can look up, of course, if they prefer a cold or hot germination and growth, because some things really do poorly. Kale, spinach, arugula, a whole handful of things don't always do that well in high heat.
Oh no.
And we know that when you slow down the growth, that cold growth, either spring or fall, produces the best greens. When they've got so much heat on them, they grow like crazy. You don't get that structure.
They're wimpy. They're like flimsy greens.
So now you get better structure, you get better crisp. Sometimes they're sweeter.
Yeah.
So spring and winter greens can be more desirous than summer greens for sure.
Yep. So I mean, we want to expand some of that growth. My one thing I would suggest is maybe I will do differently next fall is try to start those seeds a little bit earlier so they get a little more growth on them before the cold really hits. Because I mean, but we had this weird, well, it's Michigan, back and forth. We went from like 70 degrees to like 30 degrees within days. And of course, if you're over 70 degrees, some of these things won't even germinate. Like I believe, I'm trying to remember, spinach won't even germinate at over 70 degrees.
Kales, broccoli is somewhat depending on the variety.
It depends on the variety.
It's temperature sensitive.
Most broccoli needs to start inside on heat pads. But
then once it's going, it likes cold weather.
Yes, yeah. So starting broccoli like in the summer, and cauliflower and cabbage midsummer, so it grows. You get a big patch of it, grow and hoop it. You'll be able to harvest that all the way through. Well, in January we were harvesting Brussels sprouts in New York. Before we were making videos, so don't have one on that, but maybe we'll try it again next year. But yeah, so you could get all these going through the winter and have fresh vegetables all winter, basically. Coco, we're making you crave greens.
I got arugula from a local farm. It's actually a pretty big farm that sells in the farmer's market. It's obviously hothouse or hooped or something. Just some fairly matured, like 4-inch tall arugula. Definitely wasn't baby arugula. Just threw that on some fish that we cooked tonight from another guy at the farmer's market that has, he gets fish from the UP primarily, and then he sells them. So we got a fillet of walleye and just did a arugula salad and such with it.
Wolf Creek Homestead, so you're in northern Michigan. Yeah, in December this year, we had the first weekend we were like in the 60s, and then within a week or two, we got down to -10 at night. So, yeah, we've had the full spectrum. This last month, our highest high was probably about 50, and then it wasn't as
We were 50 a week ago.
We were 50 a week ago, and then we dropped.
Last Saturday or Sunday.
And then we dropped to single digits. So, yeah, it's back and forth here all the time. I love arugula, by the way, Coco.
Yep, I like the really nice baby arugula. As arugula gets bigger, like a lot of greens, it gets more peppery.
Yeah.
If you let it go more than about 3 or 4 inches, and depending on the weather and the soil, it can get to a point where it's so peppery it's not real excited. The other thing is you can grind up some of that heavier arugula. You can grind it up into pesto and add it in with basil or spinach and make a pesto, and then you can moderate with the oil or nuts or whatever. You can moderate some of that heat and spice.
That's true.
So and we like spice, but arugula, I mean, it's almost like horseradishy at a point where it just becomes a little overpowering.
I like spice. I'm not a big fan of horseradish myself, but
I like fresh horseradish quite a bit.
Yeah. And walleye, yeah, another good Midwestern fish. We did a video on cooking walleye over open flame outside on a cast iron skillet.
I'm trying to remember where I got that walleye from. I didn't catch it. The piece of walleye I got yesterday, which we had tonight, was better.
Yeah,
I think I got it from it was a local grocery store. This one was in really nice condition. It was frozen, of course, but it was really nice.
Yeah. Coco loves horseradish.
Yeah, fresh grated horseradish is totally different than the jarred stuff, which is cooked and pickled. So.
Well, here's the problem. Okay, I might change my mind if I have something fresh. We'd have to see, because I changed my mind on sauerkraut. I didn't like sauerkraut, but that's because I don't like the store-bought sauerkraut.
The
fresh
canned
stuff
style versus
There's so many people in the markets selling sauerkraut, and they're not supposed to.
No. And we all buy it, and
we all buy it anyway.
Say thank you for selling sauerkraut because whoever's the anti-sauerkraut person is crazy.
I mean, okay, this part of Michigan is a whole lot of German and Dutch
and just settlement farmers that they
farmers
all made sauerkraut because they had lots of cabbage and it was filling and it was vitamin C and there was winter and they needed it. It was important to the diet. So the idea that the state says that it may not be safe to make it
is crazy.
Make and sell at a farmer market level is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's probably safer than having some giant company pack a bunch of it all together in one big vat and then separate it out. Anyway.
Well, they test it, but I mean, I don't think anybody making sauerkraut is particularly unsafe. There's so many more things that you could do that are unsafe. So.
Anyway, that's a whole different topic. Although I will say Michigan does allow us to do a lot more than other states.
Yeah, we are actually. Michigan is on the homestead and on cottage law. Not every state has cottage law. I think more than half do at this point. But Michigan has one of the broader spectrums of allowable categories. There's 11 categories, and that does not include eggs, honey, maple, which have their own secondary requirements for. So you got a pretty wide spectrum, but they do not allow everything. And some states allow some things, some don't. We were just watching Rose, and Rose had to go through a class on eggs.
Wholesome Roots. In order to sell her eggs at the market, she had to go through a class to learn how basically to candle and grade her eggs so that they're graded eggs at the market. Here we can sell.
You need to go through an egg permit thing. You have a separate egg.
You can sell directly to people at a market or individual sales with nothing. If you want to sell to a retailer or a restaurant,
then you take a very simple class.
You need to get the certificate. You need to get the certificate for how to grade your eggs because they need to be graded. So we can actually do that sale here. Yeah. To live is to suffer. Hello.
Yeah, so it all depends on the state dramatically what the
limits are and
under a cottage law food category. Now the interesting part is people basically beat their way out by finding things that were historically commonly done. And then they did the testing analysis and a variety of whatever the unsafe conditions might be, and they basically proved that people working under normal conditions, being somewhat conscientious about what they're doing, have an extremely low risk of causing any significant problem. And because of that, they've allowed... they're not just saying you can do it and we're ignoring it. They're basically finding a reason why they consider it to be safe and not as regulated, under less regulated terms.
Yeah.
And so Michigan has 11 categories.
Yeah, and they mainly cover things like jams and baked goods.
But you can make a fruit jam. You cannot make a vegetable jam or like a pepper jelly.
Yeah.
You need to make a high acid tart fruit jam. So you got to read each state carefully. What you can bake bread, but you can't fill it with anything. You can't make a focaccia and top it with fresh tomatoes and cheese or fresh herbs. You can do dry herbs, but you can't put any fresh vegetables in or on it because it need to be refrigerated. Same thing. You can make a pie, and you can put fresh fruit in it, a high acid fresh fruit, or even make an apple pie, which is an extremely high acid. But if you put a dairy component in, not in the crust, but in the filling, and you make a custard pie, or you put like a cheese filling or a quiche or something, or a cheese base under a strawberry pie, all of a sudden you can't do that. You need to go through different means. So you have to be careful about what things you produce under those conditions.
Yeah. And talking to the local MDARD people.
Yeah, the state is pretty friendly and pretty helpful in general.
At least our guy in the local area. I think it depends a little bit on area and who's assigned as well.
Regions are covered by lots of people or across. But
and they're short staffed, so some of them are like just too overwhelmed with other stuff, more important stuff to care about, half of it.
We happen to have more than one good person in the area that actually wants to work with people, wants to make sure they have the right information, that they don't go out of their way to start doing something wrong or spend a lot of money on something they don't need to do, and then try and basically coach them instead of just issue tickets and do not makes. They actually try and
help them through
be helpful within reason so that they can be successful because they realize it's part of our economy. And so they've taken a different stance in some states. Instead of being police, they're actually they're monitors more than police.
Yeah. And they basically lead the way through it and help people out. Anyway, Stringfield Ridge Farm, very little restrictions here. But I'll check carefully.
Typically, you go to your state. You go to your state website for food, and look up the item or cottage law.
She's in Michigan.
Okay.
So there's a lot, but you do want to look up.
The site's changing around a little bit, but there's a lot of information. It's fairly clear.
Who else can you go to? I mean, usually if you go to your farmer's market and someone who's running it, they probably can connect you to the person. They get inspected once a year.
Yeah, you basically call your local MDARD region.
Oh, Western Kentucky. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, for us, you call MDARD region. You call your region, or you look on their website, or you talk to your market people, and they. But that's a little bit of research will tell you what if it's possible, and then what you have to do to stay within your standards. And there's different labeling. The best thing about most time you want to stay under state regulation, which typically means you can't sell out of state, but that isn't, unless you're on a border, that isn't necessarily an issue. Because if you're in state, the state determines everything that you do. You have there's no federal play in it. So there's a lot less restrictions and monitoring and paperwork. If you start doing USDA, it's a lot bigger deal. You better be making it a full-time job.
So I mean, and he's actually been working under the cottage law so far for his business. Eventually that'll switch over.
We're working on moving to a state certification that might move to a full USDA at some point. Yeah. But we're going to step it one at a time and learn the few of the in and outs that we don't know.
Lang family, hi and bye. I think I missed you in here. Lang family's down in Louisiana, but I think we covered everything I've had today. Mike's got more construction work to do tonight, hopefully before I go to bed, so it's not too loud.
I'm trying to cut some stuff before it gets too late. So,
but any other questions? What's the name of your pasta business?
It's West Michigan Provisions.
Yep.
So sometimes we run under West Michigan Pasta and Provisions. Sometimes we run under West Michigan Provisions. But
it's listed on both. Actually, we started a Facebook page, which will become more and more active. That is West Michigan Pasta and Provisions. Or if you look up West Michigan Pasta, I think it'll come up under that too. So you could take a look there. We currently sell at the local market, 2 local markets. There's 2 winter markets that we have access to here in Kalamazoo. And there's actually others around the area, but you can only spend so much
We've
time
only got
at
so
it.
many hours and so many people, basically me and Cindy, and mostly me. So we always have to decide how much time can I spend sitting at a market versus spend actually doing the business and trying to balance out. Yep.
Yeah, so
Sales versus production.
and versus other things that need to be
Well,
done for the
everything
business.
else to keep the business and life going.
All the paperwork and construction at the moment.
Yeah, so I've got, so juggling 3 or 4 activities, basically.
Yeah. But any other questions from you guys? We'll keep doing Herb of the Week for the rest of this month. We'll keep doing live shows every Sunday night unless we happen to be out of town, which I don't think will happen until May. But Herb of the Week will become a Herb of the Month, I believe, so we can cover some other topics during the month. But so we're kind of playing around with some ideas there. If there's any general topics that you guys want us to cover, let me know. You can put it in the chat, because obviously our main things is foraging, gardening, like the alliteration, West Michigan pasta and provisions. Yep, cool. So we do the foraging, the gardening, the chickens, some building projects, which we'll have coming up for either the gardens or the chickens, and cooking. So if we rotate, my thought is if we rotate through some of those topics on our live shows through the month, maybe we can send out a video with questions to answer, plus people can ask them and come with the questions. So yeah, let me know if there's anything along those lines, or if you guys have any questions when we post things, or if we get off topic, that's fine too, because we can chat all night. No, I'm joking. We can't chat all night. Eldermans are on at 9, so we do have a few minutes if anybody has any other questions for us tonight, though. Thanks for the research on grapes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the issue with my Herb of the Week thing is it's taking me a few hours to do the research in the primary, medical literature. That part's harder. I have some books on foraging and can get some of the traditional stuff, but I like to look at the primary literature and learn more about it. But winter is a better time to do that than as things ramp up in the spring. So I'll still try to keep a little bit of that going, but it'll probably turn into a Herb of the Month thing. Stringfield Ridge, love foraging. Great chat. Awesome.
We made some vinegar, actually, that was mostly grapes, and it had a few random apples and pears in it.
Did you try it yet?
No, I haven't. It's sitting downstairs. It had a fairly big mold bloom on it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it... so you're going to have yeast in there, and then you're going to have the lactobacillus and whatever else is in there. It seemed to have quite a bit of white moldiness, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Obviously, if it's vinegar at this point, if I strain it out, and I didn't make juice, I actually crushed everything and left everything in there. So I tried to take the stems off the grapes.
Yeah. Keep the bitterness out.
Yeah, break that down a little bit. So I don't know. We should check it at some point.
Mike has a few strange brews that seem to continuously be going. The one thing he hasn't brewed recently is beer. No. Which he did in New York.
I haven't had any time.
I know.
It's been about 4 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
It's just been too busy.
Yeah. Maybe get back to it.
It takes basically half a day to set it up, and it takes half a day to bottle. So you got to set aside about 2 weeks apart. So you gotta,
Good night, Stringfield Ridge Farm. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll have to do some of Mike's experimental brews video.
Yeah, we'll have to open up and check it and see what it's like.
Yeah. Maybe we could do that on a live show. That would be funny. Test it and you'll see our initial reaction with no cuts. That would be funny.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to make... Well, there's some restrictions on vinegar making in the state. I don't think vinegar's under cottage law.
Huh.
Vinegar's a pretty darn safe item. Yeah. I mean, the question is, does it taste desirable or does it taste like garbage water?
That's the big question.
There's actually some possible modifications allowing for kombucha to be produced in restaurants. I haven't looked at the final specs or if they're out, but there may be a possibility to do variances on that. Although I'm not a huge fan of kombucha flavor-wise. I know there's lots of them, but I've never really had one that impressed me enough that I'm like, wow, I just can't wait to buy another one. I've had ones that I tolerated, and I had ones that I thought tasted like trash, and I really felt like I didn't want to drink them.
Well, you know, those girls had some decent ones.
Yeah,
they were flavored ones.
Well, I have a friend who was making them, and then he would secondarily flavor them at the end with ginger, usually with ginger or some other things, as more of a little spritzy drink. And those were pretty decent because it took down the funk and added some other nice flavors of to it. And so I'm not completely opposed to it, but I haven't found anything that jumped out.
Wonder if it killed some of the bacteria in it, because ginger has some antimicrobial effects.
Well, no, if you make the kombucha and then you blend it either in your final bottling or right before you serve it.
But what I mean is you make your kombucha and then you're basically killing the bacteria by adding the ginger, maybe. I don't know.
No idea.
Theories. Scientific theories. Anyway, so, yeah, we do have some projects on the list that we have to get to. But I will get my video up this week on the broody hen, and the cat just attacked my hand. Oops. A little playful sitting on my lap. So I have a video on the broody hen that'll be up this week. A couple other projects I want to do. We got to start seeds soon.
I know, we got to hurry up and start seeds. It's February.
Yeah, so it's time to get...
Otherwise, we're going to be behind.
Thinking on that. I want to do soil blocks again. I want to look into the... getting the right mix of soil blocks. That's Elliot Coleman too, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of people, but he has some good foundational stuff.
He has some
good blends.
Good blends that he put together.
For using your native soil to help bridge your starts for an easier transition into your native soil.
Yeah, so I want to get that going, so we'll probably do some videos on that.
You have the Michigan Facts post. Is that up yet? Or
I put that up this morning.
There it is.
So, yes, the Michigan Facts, the 5 random facts about Michigan. My video was just an introduction inviting people to do it, so along with some winter scenery stuff. But we will be putting that together. That's another thing we have to do this week. Probably I want to get it. I want to try to get that up by next week. And then any of you guys who are interested in joining in on that, I'll try to see if the Pratts are interested in it, because it'd be nice to have some bigger channels. Of course, Lois Ann is now considered a big channel, right? She's over 1,000 subs. So congratulations to her if she's still in the room. She might have gone to... Was she one of the ones that said goodnight? I'm not sure. But yeah, so we'll get that going, and hopefully it'll help us all out in adding to our viewership.
Should find out what Lang Family Farms is, what they're growing, because they're in a totally different climate than we are.
Oh yeah, yeah, Lang Family. They're down in
early growing seasons.
Yeah,
already.
are you? Oh wait, she's gone.
Oh, are they gone already?
She said basically, I think she said good evening and part-time Permies and chat, and I think that was her only chat. Yep. So I might have to ask her next time what she's growing down in Louisiana in the winter. That's nice down there, because you can definitely continue growing things year-round the further south you are. Anyway. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. Clipboard. Are you cutting and pasting over and over again by Night World? That works. That's perfect. You're fast. But yeah, I guess we'll probably just wrap up, because we're at 5 to 9, so wrap up a few minutes early unless anyone else has other questions or any requests. Soil blocks, we need a video. Mushroom, we need a video. These are on our to-do list. I already have...
I thought you were going to do the mushrooms this weekend.
Trying to find time. I keep running out of time. Next weekend.
You can do them right now. Before you go to bed.
And before I go to bed. Maybe I could get it done now. I'll have to see. I do have to put away clothes and stuff before I go to bed.
I was just talking to a new guy. I met a new guy who's growing mushrooms. He's got a new farm. He's growing mushrooms. He's been brewing beer for a long time. He's like doing a bazillion things and trying to figure out what's going to work for him. We got connected up this week, so that was interesting.
Could be watching. You never know.
I don't know. It's possible. Yeah. So we were just talking about starting small businesses and sort of breaking into markets and somewhat defining or finding markets. I have a little more defined. So that was an interesting of two people doing very similar things, but don't really overlap at all in what we're doing. And we're in the same, we live close to each other. So we were talking about, well, we need to work through some of our problems or some of our good things and figure out if we can't help each other out. His farm, he lives in town, and his farm's just beyond us a little bit. Yeah. So he's only about a year into assuming this land. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and he's into, I think, some of the permaculture stuff.
He was doing a lot with Elliot Coleman related.
Okay. Yeah, because there's you met through a friend who is in charge of the Van Kel permaculture group. Yep. I want to say, and he sometimes, I think, watches our videos. I don't think he's in there. He's busy, but occasionally he's and actually, he's a guy who offered to give us a tour of his property. So, forgot that one. Coco, not yet. This is still Verizon.
Technical problems.
Okay, so we were supposed to get new internet on Monday. The guy came out and everything. They're running a new line with this new company through this area. The problem is it got cold, and the box that they have to connect into is across the street.
Well, they said you cannot tell until you come out on the property where the cable, they don't say what side of the road the cable's on. So once the technician gets out, he goes, well, bad news, it's buried cable, it's on the other side of the road. We need to get a separate crew that can bore under, we're on a fairly busy road.
Yeah.
They need to bore under the road, and then they need to run it, trench it all the way up our yard, about, 300 feet or something.
Yeah.
And they said, the docket is in March, based upon weather. They might be able to start earlier, but they said it may not start until weather, so they'll put us on the list to get out and do it. There's no charge, so they're going to spend a reasonable amount of effort and money to get us a line. And he was very confident. Well,
once they connect the house, they're connected to the house.
Yeah, and that's the point. It's there, and they're pretty confident that the signal strength is very good. So
yeah, they said that.
So we're just on hold.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be awesome. I mean, we're supposed to be going. He said it's up to 100 Mbps. So. For download speed and 10 upload speed.
Yeah, and he says you got a clean line to the road, which they've been doing a lot of work on the road. They were just burying cable right along there, so I don't know if it was this group or somebody else. But he says we've got fresh cable through here, and you're going to get a fresh tie-in. So he goes, the chances that you should get really good quality for what's offered in this area.
We don't have fiber in this area.
No, we don't have any
There's
fiber.
nobody doing fiber in this area. But this is the second cable company, and the first one, by the way. This is my cell phone. This is my Verizon connection, which last week was horrible for some reason. I have no idea why, but this week is working well. Verizon usually works okay, but I can't do it over my computer well. I might be able to now with a hotspot and stuff, but that takes a lot of data, and so, it gets complicated. But this is working well over my cell phone right now. So once the problem with our current group is that our current internet setup is giving us about 1 to 2 Mbps download speed at most. It's horrible. And
when you can't get your statement from your bank to load at 9 o'clock at night because everybody's on the computer, it's bad.
Upload speeds, we're talking like a half Mbps. It's horrible. So whenever I upload videos, usually I'm doing it either late at night or I'm using my cell phone as a hotspot to try to upload it because our internet's ridiculous. But it's my cell phone camera, and I know the spot over here by Mike's face, there's a crack on the lens. So sorry about that. But yeah, it's clearer on my side than on Mike's side. Need a new cell phone soon too. But we should be getting this great internet connection. It's just not happening yet, but should happen hopefully in March, depending on weather. So
they said when you see orange plastic cables sitting next to your house, It's ready to go.
Yeah. They say call us, we'll make it the final hookup.
The final hookup's easy. Just call us and get us on the list. You'll know because there'll be orange hoses, pipes sitting next to the house.
Princess, so. You're late. You're late for a very important date. Wait, was that Alice in Wonderland? Yes. The rabbit. So, you don't watch kids' movies.
Not so much.
Yeah, we're probably wrapping up here now. But, Princess, if you want to get the herb of the week, you can go to the webpage below, and I have all the stuff on Grapevines.
You'll have the replay
there.
Up in 15 minutes or so?
And the replay will, yeah, of course, as soon as we cut out and it processes, it'll be up, and you'll have the replay soon. So, yes. Okay. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so we have to bear with the Verizon cell phone, cracked cell phone for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on weather. It is Michigan, so we'll see. But we will be switching over hopefully soon. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's about it today. Mm-hmm. We're just wrapping up. Eldermans are starting up at 9 o'clock, so any of you guys wanting to go visit another homestead channel, that's one to go to. They're quite a big homestead channel. And we will see you next week. I haven't decided the herb of the week yet. I'll let you know towards the end of the week, though. See you with the next week live show, you guys. Good night.
Good night.